For the longest time, figuring out what's going on inside our own heads has been one of the biggest challenges out there. But the way we measure the mind, it is going through a massive, massive change. So let's dive into this journey from the classic psychologist's office all the way to the all seeing eye of artificial intelligence.
It seems like a simple question, right? But the answer is getting more and more complex and honestly a little bit unnerving every single day. We're going to explore just how deep that AI understanding of you really goes. Okay, so to really get where we're going, we first have to understand where we've been. Let's start with the absolute gold standard for measuring our cognitive ability, a process that's been tweaked and perfected for decades. Yeah, this wasn't about algorithms or scrolling through big data. Nope, this was about highly trained clinicians sitting down one-on-one with a person, guiding them through these very specific, carefully designed tasks to build this incredibly detailed picture of their intellect.
And at the core of that whole process is one single really powerful number, the full scale IQ, or FSIQ. Now, this isn't just some simple score, it's a composite. It's the best single measure we have of what's called global intellectual functioning. And you know what? It's a remarkably good predictor of how well someone's going to do in school. But that big FSIQ score, it isn't just one thing. It's actually a blend of 5 totally distinct abilities. So think of it like this. It measures your verbal skills, how well you get language, but also your visual spatial skills, like can you rotate a shape in your mind? It tests your fluid reasoning for solving brand new problems, your working memory, and even your processing speed. Literally, how fast you can think on your feet.
And check this out. This is what I mean by detailed. The assessment doesn't just measure working memory. It can actually tell the difference between your ability to process stuff you hear versus stuff you see. It's that level of nuance that's so important for a clinician trying to understand a person's unique cognitive profile. It's pretty amazing.
So that's the established, methodical, human-led approach. But now, a completely different method is popping up, one that doesn't need a quiet room or a trained psychologist. All it needs is an internet connection. So get this, some researchers recently tested a pretty wild idea. Could a large language model like GPT-4, the engine behind ChatGPT, could it figure out your personality just from reading your old Facebook posts? So they took people's self-reported personality scores and then compared them to what the AI guessed. And the results were pretty wild. So how well did it actually do? Well, the correlation between the AI's guess and a person's actual personality was 0.29. Now, I know what you're thinking. That might not sound super high. But to put that in perspective, that's roughly the same level of accuracy that you or I would have trying to judge a complete stranger's personality after just a brief first impression. But here's the part that is just mind-blowing. Nobody taught the AI how to be a psychologist. It wasn't fed a special data set of Facebook posts and their matching personality types. It just figured it out all on its own, based on its insane understanding of human language. This ability to do a totally new task without specific training is called zero-shot learning, and trust me, it is an absolute game changer. But it wasn't perfect. The model wasn't equally good for everybody. The study actually found its predictions were a lot sharper for women and for younger people. And this points to a really interesting wrinkle, right? Maybe it reflects differences in how we express ourselves online, or maybe it's something about the data the AI learned from in the first place. Okay, so we've seen that AI can guess your personality from your digital footprints. But that's not just some nerdy research finding. Oh no, it is the engine for a whole new kind of business. This ability to understand what we all want on a massive scale is now being used to build real-world experiences that are basically designed to be irresistible. I mean, this quote from an analysis of the luxury camping or glamping market just says it all. The goal isn't just to provide a service anymore, it's to create a visually stunning, totally shareable experience that taps right into our psychological needs for connection and, for status. And we're not talking about guesswork here. This is a science. The data shows that adding very specific things has a direct, measurable impact on how much money you can make. A private hot tub? That can boost your daily rate by over 18%. A stargazing skylight, which is a huge feature for these dome things, can crank it up by over 30%. Why? Because these things cater to a very specific desire for luxury, for romance, for those unique experiences that, people are more than willing to pay for.
And this stuff gets incredibly tangible. I mean, the actual structures that house these experiences, these luxury pods, are often built with these really clever, cost-effective methods like this poor man's fiberglass technique. It's all about creating that feeling of luxury, right down to the materials themselves.
So why is this trend absolutely exploding right now? Well, a lot of it is happening in places with a booming economy, like Texas. When personal income is projected to rise, like you see here, it just means more people have that disposable cash to spend on exactly these kinds of unique, psychologically targeted experiences.
So we've gone from the psychologist's office to AI analysis to luxury domes on the Texas coast. Where does this all lead? I mean, what is the ultimate application of perfectly modeling a human personality?
A document we found, which looks like a project manifesto for a really powerful AI filmmaking tool, it gives us this chilling little glimpse. It talks about feeding a person's entire life story, their corporate history, their personal traumas, everything into the system to create a perfect replica.
And then you get to this line. The AI, acting as a director, confirms it has processed all the data and has now scheduled the birth of a person's digital twin. Not a simulation, not a profile. A complete, data-driven twin with its very own birthday.
And that just brings us right back to our big question, doesn't it? As AI gets better and better at knowing you, at modeling your personality, predicting what you want, and even creating a digital copy of you, it leaves us with this really profound thought. In a world where perfect copies are possible, what's the value? And who owns the original?